Welcome back to the hangar with Xcraft. And in the end of my last video, I had stated that we were probably going to work on bombs or torpedoes or something along those lines. And that is not true. I'm going to change gears and we're going to work on the canopy. So I had mentioned in a previous episode that the canopy frame has two extra pieces of framework on the windshield that do not belong. And I'm going to put up a picture from the National Archives, so no copyright issues or anything. I'm going to put up a picture here. And you can see there is no framework on the front of that windshield. There's only two bars, not four. Okay, so here are the bars I'm referring to. I'm pointing to the one, this would be the starboard side bar, and same on the port side. Those two bars right in front don't exist, and you can see that looking at this picture again. They are not there. So we are going to remove those. And I found some artist renditions, and it looks like they've possibly have something that looks like framework in those areas. Maybe it's intended to be a reflection or something. But I have to wonder, did Trumpeter get lazy and find one of those pictures and believe that it was framework and put it in there? I don't know. I really hope that wasn't the case, because it was not difficult to find a photo of one of these aircraft. So, anyways, we're gonna make an attempt at removing that framework and see how well that goes. This will be a first. I've worked on canopies before. Like get glue drops or something, and wet sand it out and polish it, and everything's good to go. I've never tried removing framework before, so this will be a new thing. I'm going to bring you along for the journey, and we'll just see how things go. So stay tuned. Let me get set up for that, and I'll be right back with you. So here we go. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here, we're going to be removing these two pieces of framework, as you saw in the photo, and on the full scale, that those do not exist. Now, I've been wondering why they did this. Well, I have found a couple pictures out there, and they were artist renditions, and they painted what I believe is supposed to be like a glare on the windshield, and it's in this location. And I have to wonder, did someone actually get that lazy at Trumpeter? And that's why they did that? Because they thought it looked like framework? I don't know. But this is clearly not on these airplanes. So we're going to use, I got a brand new X-Acto knife blade here. We're going to make an attempt at shaving that down. And if we're successful here, we're going to work on the open canopy version and try to get that one cleaned up and ready to go. So we're going to practice on this one step by step here, and if we do the other one, then we'll do a time lapse on that, because there's no point in you watching both of them. So I'm going to start here. I'm just going to start shaving real gently. We don't want to get too much into the plastic under it, and we got to be very, very careful not to damage this other framework. Now that's going to be the tricky part when it comes to sanding it, is sanding that off without damaging that other frame. This is going to get a little bit tedious here. We're just going to be very gentle. Yeah, and I hit the windshield there just a little bit right here and here, but that should sand out okay. Can we just scrape this like this maybe? I have done this before, not removing framework though. I have repaired damaged canopies, like maybe I got glue on it or something, and I have wet sanded that out. But I've never actually attempted to make modifications like this before. So, we're going to learn together. That actually is going really nicely, scraping like this. Instead of trying to cut, scraping it is working much better. I can actually see when it's getting close to the windshield underneath, because it'll start taking it at the edges just a little bit. That makes sense. Yeah, that line is getting wider, so now I'm right down to the glass already. That went way better than I thought it would. So now we're getting into the tricky area right here. Got a little bit more right there. And we got up here towards where the pilot would be. I can still see rivet detail in that plastic. Wow, that feels really smooth. That feels really, really smooth. Let me get some water here. Sorry, I should have been set up with that ahead of time. This is for our wet sanding. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. So I'm gonna start with this guy. I honestly don't know what grit this is. If I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna say this is probably 1,000. So I'm gonna say 1,000 grit for that. And let's just try this file brush here. Wow, this is notably better already. Okay. This sanding stick works really well up against that other frame. And you can see I'm hitting down in here too on the windshield itself. You can't help that. We're probably going to end up sanding and buffing out this entire area by the time we're done here. Let me get a piece of this 1,000 grit paper here. We'll see how that compares to that stick that I'm using. Okay, so these are full sheets for like what you'd use on a sander. And obviously, we do not need a piece that big, so I'm just going to do this. I learned a trick years ago. If you take this and you fold this like this, I learned this for big sheets, so you can get your money's worth out of your sandpaper. You tear that halfway, you fold this over, you fold this over, you fold this over. Okay? And now when this wears out, you open this up, fold this in, you have brand new sheets. And you use every square inch of your sandpaper by doing it like that. No waste. So let's see how this compares to the sanding stick. Okay, I think this is about the same. It seems to be about the same. So I think that sanding stick is 1,000. This is much easier to get up against this frame than I thought it was going to be. That's working really well, and it looks like I already nearly have that entire windshield frame piece gone. Now you can see there's a spot. You can't see it. I can see it. There's a spot right here where my knife dug just a touch deep. That was probably happened at the very beginning when I was like trying to cut it off instead of scrape it off. Okay. But it's really shallow. We can get rid of that, I think. No problemo. Okay, I'm feeling pretty confident here. In what we're doing. That frame section looks like it is completely gone now. Let's switch. Let's jump to 2,000. Let's see what we get. So here's our 1,000 grit. We'll set that off to the side. I'm going to grab another piece. I'm going to do the 2,000. We're going to do our little trick here. I usually do this with full sheets, but why not do it with these little ones too? Why waste your sandpaper? Everything costs money, fellas. And this hobby ain't getting any cheaper. And this is just sandpaper. This came from, Menards. I don't buy sandpaper that is specific for working on models because you'll pay way more for it. And I don't see a point in that. It's great those companies are out there, and I wish them all the best. But I'm in business to keep myself in business. If I can save a few bucks, why shouldn't I? Okay. That is actually starting to get a little bit of a polish. It's really cloudy yet, you can see. But it's actually starting to get some polish to it. I'm going to switch to this sanding stick, which I am certain is finer. This is probably 3 or maybe even 4,000 grit. And I'm going to start working that section of canopy. I'm doing a circular motion. That's just kind of a habit. Circular seems to work better. You don't end up with lines. And yeah, look at that. We're actually starting to get polish on this now. And there's no sign of that frame to be seen. I got nothing. And this will be easier on the next one because we'll be doing this one at the same time. Right? We'll be doing both of them together. I got to tell you, this is the part about this kit that has had me a little bit anxious because I want it to be right, but I didn't want to risk ruining the canopy. I'll tell you right now, we got this. It's already looking notably better. I'm going to switch to this little nail brush. This is old. It looks rough. This side is a little bit coarser. This is probably, I don't know, 10,000 grit, and this is like a polishing brush on this side. Super fine, super smooth, and this works really, really well for clear parts. I actually use this sometimes when I'm dressing out surfaces when I'm getting ready to spray all clad, because all clad aluminum paint will show everything underneath it. Literally everything will show. And it has to be perfect. So I've been using this to polish out the plastic basically and try to make it look as much like the surrounding plastic as possible. Because if there's any fine scratches or whatever, you will see them for sure. So before we spray the all clad on this fuselage, gonna have to give it a really, really good once over. Oh, what do we got here? Look at that, fellas. That is not perfect, but it is nearly there. And then we'll finish this with a polishing compound, really a fine polishing compound. I got some automotive stuff I'll dig through, and I'm sure I can find something in there that will work. Look at that. It's got just a little bit of cloudiness to it yet. But it looks, overall, that looks really nice. And there's very, very little wear or damage to the framework up here or down below. It needs a little bit more work, but this gives me enough confidence to know that we can go ahead and proceed on the other one, on the one we're going to use, and make it right. So I'm going to switch over to a time lapse now that you've seen exactly what I've done here. And when I get back to doing any polishing, we'll come back and I'll show you that. So let me get rigged up for that, and I'll be back just like that. Okay, so I have gone ahead and wet sanded this out using the 1000, the 2000, this mystery sanding stick, which I think is 4 to 6,000 on this side, and then this nail brush. And this has gotten us very, very close. And in the time lapse, you saw me grab this microfiber cloth and this canopy, and I hit this with some polish. And I'll show you what polish I've got here. And it is not special for models or anything. None of this is. This is all purchased locally at Harbor Freight or Menards or wherever. And look at how perfect that came out. There is no sign of that piece of framework anymore, and that canopy is crystal clear. And I would like to also note, look, no future floor wax. Everything I read, people say, oh, you got to dip them in future floor wax. You have to do it. You have to do it. No, you don't have to do it. I'm proving that right now. Okay? You can do this without floor wax. I've always thought, and I have never tried it, so maybe I'm in the wrong, I may be in the minority, but I'm doing what works for me, and that's what I'm showing you all. So my thought on future floor wax has always been, if I dip this, is it not going to lay along the edge of these frames and make it thick looking and you lose some of the sharpness? That's why I don't do it. I don't see a need to. I'm not going to even go buy a bottle of it, if you can even find it anymore, to try it. I have this Meguiar's Ultra Pro Finishing Polish. This is M210. This came from Menards. And I use this for polishing out my classic car. I also use it for like car bodies and stuff like that. Model car bodies. So I just have just a tiny dab of this on a microfiber cloth, and this is the canopy we're going to use, and I have both of the bars already removed. Now this is going to need to be cleaned off or something with some acetone or something to remove any leftover compound, because paint likely will not stick to it if I don't. However, until then, we're going to polish this out, and then we'll figure that out afterwards. One step at a time. Okay. Fellers, I'm telling you, if I can do this, you can do this. Okay? Now, I'm not sure what happened here. Did I scratch that? Oh no, it's cracked. There's a crack right here. Oh, devastation. Well, gee, I wonder if future floor wax will fix that. Oh no, our polishing came out so nice. Oh, guys. Oh. It's stress cracked. I bet you that happened as I was holding it. Probably when I was holding it over here. When I was holding it on this edge and I was sanding or polishing it, I probably stressed it a little bit. Yeah, and look what happened. Ooh. Well, so maybe if I can find some, maybe we try the future floor wax and see if we can fix that. The canopy itself came out beautiful as far as removing the bars goes. It's nice and clear, and there's no sign of them. But those they're like they're stress cracks. That's exactly what happened. I stressed it while I was sanding it. Doggone it. Ugh. Fatal, fatal mistake. Okay, so, well, in the meantime, this one's a lot stronger because it's one piece. Let's polish this out. I mean, it's beautiful. I have one more piece of framework to remove here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this in case we end up using this canopy. Maybe I can get with Trumpeter and get a new windshield. If I can do that, this one has a defect in it. There's like a little piece of brown. Like, oh, it's on the inside. Huh. Okay, never mind. Not a defect. There's, yeah, it's fine. So maybe I'll get with Trumpeter and see if I can get a replacement windshield for this. Or could I cut off the front of this one? Could I cut the front of this off and use it? That's going to be tricky because this clear plastic is brittle. And it likes to break easy. I'm afraid that I really might botch that up. But, well, and if I do that, then I have no canopies unless I get a replacement from Trumpeter. So, let me think about this for a minute. I think I'm going to go ahead and remove this bar here and polish this out so this can be used if needed. And I'll decide what we're going to do here. Okay, so I'll be back. So I decided to go ahead and part that windshield from the one-piece canopy. You can see on what's left of the old canopy, the melted plastic. And here are the two pieces sitting together. The one in the back is the old one, the one in the front is the new one. And I'm going to explain to you how I went about this. Where I parted it at the existing or the remaining frame where the windshield and the rollback part of the canopy meet is twice as wide on the one I parted, and I'm going to explain that to you right now. Okay, so you saw me fail on this canopy with the stress fractures. Sad night. But out of sadness and out of failure comes success rising from the flames. I decided, I did send a message to Trumpeter about getting a replacement canopy. However, I wanted to see if I could do it. So I used my Dremel with a cutoff wheel, and I very slowly cut through this canopy, and I cut along the edge of the framework that would have remained on here. So after I had the windshield removed, the leftover framework on the windshield was twice the width it needed to be. And that left me a buffer in case I had any issues, and you can sand down or trim down or file down or whatever the case may be to the line that you want it to be. So that's what we ended up doing. And here is our new replacement windshield. So I used, it ended up with all kinds of, like melted plastic slag all along these edges, and just taking your thumb, it just snapped right off really easy. This stuff snaps and damages and breaks really easy. I've had some windshields that I've worked on. I've never had one stress fracture as easily as this one did. And truth be told, there is a very slight stress fracture right here where the gun sight goes through. You cannot see it. I can barely see it, but it is there. And it happened, I'm sure, when I was working on this canopy. And I was being really, really careful. I was trying to hold it really securely and not flex it. And it still happened. However, we're still using this. It's barely visible. I am not going to stress out over that. So the way I dressed this out was I used my moto tool, my cutting wheel. So just imagine the bottom of the cup is my cutting wheel, and this is the face of the wheel. I'm not going to use the edge of the wheel. I just used the face, and I just ran it around really gently, really slowly on this edge, just using the face, taking that plastic down really, really slowly until I got it to half the thickness. So I still have the row of rivets, I still have half the frame, and it's nice and straight and clean. I was going to try using a block of wood with a piece of sandpaper on it and sand it flat, but I was really, really afraid that by doing that, I was going to stress this windshield too much and ruin it. And so I chose against that option. I decided to risk the cutoff wheel method, if you will, and it worked perfectly. And then I just took this sanding stick and cleaned up this edge, and we now have a nice, really smooth, really nice, clean edge with a proper framework, missing the two improper frame sections have been removed. So this is what this windshield should look like, and now we have a good usable windshield despite failure. So out of the ashes of doom comes success. So next up, we will be getting this masked off and attached to the fuselage itself, which will be nearing ready for primer pretty soon, I think. We don't have a lot to do yet on it. So I think we'll get that canopy on next. So stay tuned for that. And don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments, please put them down below. I'll read them. I'll get back with you. And maybe someone's got some good comments out there. You know, I've never tried cutting up a canopy like this. And, as you can see, it worked out okay. We didn't have any problems. But maybe someone's got a better idea for me. Maybe someone has a really great idea to fix this old one. The one with the spider cracks in it. I don't know if you can fix that, but maybe you can. Someone's got some comments on that. Stick them down below. I'd love to know. I'd love to experiment on this yet, even though I don't plan on using it. And, because knowledge is power. And down the road, it could be very useful. So, until next time, keep your fingers out of the glue.